Okay, let's move on. We will still do our draft of top 10 games to watch. There's just 10 games, but the order here, I guess, is what we're going for.
Yeah.
Ashton, it's your turn to pick first. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. It's Oregon, Washington. They're number one.
Yeah.
That's not real hard. It's Friday night. I'm a Georgia fan, and even I'm picking Oregon, Washington. It's a playoff spot. It's a play-in game. We have a couple of those. Honestly, we have a couple of play-in games. Oregon's favored by 9.5. The game is in Las Vegas. That's all great. Washington beat Oregon, and we have to come back to that. Like, I understand that we rank Oregon so high in all these power ratings. I get it. Washington played them this year and beat them. And at some point, that does have to matter. Computers, like, they can think whatever they want. The game on the field that happened this year, Washington was the better team and won. And I think 9.5 is wildly high up the line there. I'm sure you thought that too.
I would be very curious to know how many teams have gone 12-0 and been 9.5-point underdogs in their conference title games. That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure, hey, Oregon's great and they cover a lot. And I understand that. And Washington doesn't cover a whole lot. And like the computer puts a ton into, like any computer puts a ton on, are you doing better than projected or worse than projected? I point taken. I just think this is going to be a close game. I think this is going to be a lot of fun too. This game will be better than any NFL game this whole weekend. It's going to be fantastic. Probably maybe better than any college game this whole weekend too. That's why I have it at 1.
Right. All right. The number 2 pick here is easy. I'm going to the SEC title game. I'm taking Georgia and Alabama. There's something unique about this rivalry that's not really technically a rivalry in the classic sense of the word, but every time they play each other, it's important. There's big stakes involved. Sometimes it's been in the title game already. Georgia favored here by 6. I have thoughts on that later maybe, but what are your thoughts about what this game should look like?
Georgia's the better football team here. I don't feel like we need to complicate this too much. I don't think that Jalen Milroe will be able to consistently go up and down the field on this Georgia defense. I don't think that he will. On the flip side, I do think that Carson Beck will be able to have a lot of success against the Alabama defense. I think this Georgia offense is clicking right now. Brock Bowers will be back. Ladd McConkey will be back. All those guys will be playing this week. It's again, playoff game. Have to have it. I'm biased here. But I think Georgia is the better football team and is playing their best right now at the end of the season. When the best is required, I think they're just coming up into kind of a foaming boil here at the end, as great teams do sometimes. You saw those Clemson teams from a couple of years back would kind of do that, where they kind of crescendo at the end of the year. They kind of all builds up into November and December. So I think Georgia's doing that at the right time. If Alabama couldn't stop Auburn's running game, my goodness, they have no chance of stopping Georgia's. That's how I feel about it.
I agree with you. I've kind of been on the train for a good part of the season of Alabama's defense just being really good. I was a little disappointed by them against Auburn. I just expected more out of their defense. Maybe they were overlooking their rival. I have a hard time seeing that. I'm looking forward to this game. Very watchable for me. Where do you go with the number 3 pick, Ashton?
I'm going to Louisville, Florida State. Florida State's favored by 2.5. What are we doing? What are we doing? That's wildly low. Florida State has everything on the line. They have to win, and they're kind of at a place where style points matter. Like, they need to win, and preferably by a lot. It's in Charlotte. It's a neutral site, maybe a little closer to Louisville. Who cares? This is one of the biggest games Florida State's played, since the 2013, 2014 years, right? Like when they're in the playoff, that first year of the playoff. So they need to win. They need to win big. We'll go there. More on that later.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on it later. They might be slightly different than you, but I like both defenses in this game. To me, that's Louisville's strength. 10-2 season for them. Really impressive year by them. I still do not like their quarterback. I just props to Jeff Brom.
You're not a Plummer fan?
I'm not a Plummer fan. Jeff Brom is legit. He's a really good coach. I think Louisville really upgraded there from Scott Satterfield. So good for them.
Kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. With the number 4 pick, I'm going to the Big 12. We'll take Oklahoma State against Texas. Texas favored by 14.5, so they're supposed to win this game big, but still very watchable. Mike Gundy would love nothing more than to spoil this for Texas in their last ever Big 12 game. There's some real stakes here, by the way. If all the favorites win this weekend, the committee will have to choose between 1-loss Oregon and 1-loss Texas. That would be the choice. And
yeah,
that might be the toughest choice the committee has ever had to make.
Who would you take?
Oh, gonna make me pick.
Yeah.
So I would say, just comparing the two teams, Texas would probably have the best win. They went on the road to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama this year.
Right.
Oregon, however, would have avenged their only loss.
Right.
They lost one game to Washington, and then they would have, if we're assuming they win, they would have beaten Washington then.
Right.
Is it fair to say whoever looks more impressive, like in the conference title? Like to me, it feels very even at this point. It's just saying that they both won is still an incomplete picture because I want to know what they looked like.
That's fair. There's so much love out there for Oregon right now. If they beat Washington, I don't think there's any way you're keeping them out. I understand everything Texas has done, and I respect them a lot. I mean, I think they're going to fit in well in the SEC next year. I think they're very physical up front. I do think with the amount of love that the computers have for Oregon, they're at the top of all of these power indexes and team ratings, power ratings. All these rating systems have them ranked so high. I do think the perception has been swayed. And if they beat Washington, who's going to be probably number 3 in the CFP rankings come tomorrow night, probably 3 or 4, no lower than 4. They jumped Florida State last week. I would only assume that they would stay ahead of Florida State. They're going to have a huge win over the number 3 team. I think Oregon looks more impressive just because of the little number, in the score box of the team that they beat that week. So yeah, I would probably give the nudge to the nod, I guess, to Oregon. I think Washington's gonna have something to say about that though, man. I think that's a close game. So yeah, a lot left out there for sure. I will go ahead with the 5th pick. I'll take the last of the Power 5 conferences, Michigan, Iowa. It's a snoozer. Michigan's favored by 23 points. Just be real honest here. As long as Michigan scores more than 10, they're going to win this football game because Iowa will not be scoring more than 10 points. So, good for them. Michigan's going to lock up a playoff spot. They might even get in with a loss, but that's not something they're probably going to have to worry about. So there's a chance Iowa covers. But it's not going to be because they had an offensive explosion. It's going to be because Michigan just kind of sat on them and ran out of time. So, yeah, we'll take Michigan.
Yeah, it feels very much like this is the Power 5 championship game that obviously we're going to watch them all, but if you have to scoreboard watch one of them, this is the one. All right, so that goes to me with the 6th pick and the first of the 5 games left with all the Group of 5 conference championship games. I think I'm going to go to the previously mentioned Sun Belt. I want to watch App State against Troy. Troy favored by 6.5. John Sumrall, the head coach there, he's done a really good job, and his name's been floated for some bigger jobs. So I kind of want to see his program, see what he does, see how good of a job he does. App State has they've been known to play spoiler from time to time. So 6.5 tells me it should be a pretty fun, close game. So I'll take the Sun Belt Championship game next.
I'll go to the American Athletic, SMU and Tulane. Tulane favored by 5.5. The game in New Orleans. Tulane's a good team. They've been competitive. Their only loss, by the way, is a loss at home to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a good football team too. So they're ranked. They're number 23 currently. Got another win over the weekend. So yeah, I think they're favored, but SMU could. I mean, you can clearly see like what Vegas thinks. SMU could make this one very close. It's at 4:00, which means I'm probably not going to be watching just a ton of it. We'll be really honest. I am probably going to be otherwise occupied in that 4:00 time spot.
Sure.
With my Bulldogs playing, but yeah, it's a good secondary screen to have on.
Sure. All right, I'm going to the Mountain West. I want to watch Boise State against UNLV. And this is Boise State favored by 2.5, by the way. This is mostly because of UNLV's offensive coordinator, Brennan Marion, who is one of the rising stars in the industry. He runs this, they call it the go-go offense. They often have two running backs in the backfield, and they like line up in weird formations, and they do just crazy, unique things. Like I think some of the NFL teams, maybe especially the Dolphins, they've been borrowing a few things from his offense.
Right.
I don't know if you remember, like 5 years ago, Cam Newton's little brother, Kalen Newton, led his team to an upset. They were like 41-point underdogs or something. That was under Brennan Marion. That's the same guy. Wouldn't be shocked if we end up seeing him get the offensive coordinator job at like Oklahoma or a school like that this next season.
Don't you want him at Notre Dame? Just be honest. You want him at Notre Dame?
I would love to. Doesn't sound like it's going to happen. Sounds like we're probably stuck with our guy one more year.
Y'all don't have enough money.
We got plenty of money.
You won't spend it.
We won't spend it. But yeah, I want to watch Brennan Marion's offense. Good chance we'll see it at a bigger school next year.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a good pick. Sorry, there was no need of that. Was just an unnecessary chirp, I guess, against Notre Dame. All right, I'm going to Conference USA. New Mexico State, fresh off their win against Auburn 2 weeks ago, I guess. But yeah, Alabama beat them the next week. No big deal. New Mexico State beat them by 3 touchdowns, though, at the same field. It's crazy. Anyway, They play Liberty. Jamie Chadwell, you mentioned him, apparently going to be staying at Liberty. They're 12-0, ranked, favored by 10. Like Liberty, I don't know. Like they're probably not going to lose next year either. I've heard a lot of people out there that say that Liberty could be like they have, with the way their schedule lines up and the way everything's kind of working out for them, they could have a real run here in the next couple of years. So yeah, something to keep an eye on. Watch Liberty when you get a chance. It's on Friday night before Oregon, Washington. Try to watch a little bit of it.
They invest more in football than the rest of the CUSA does. Like they're a spender. And Jamie Chadwell's a really good coach.
Right.
Yeah, as long as they hold on to him, they're going to be just fine. All right, that leaves the MAC for me. Miami, Ohio against Toledo. Actually kind of interesting because both of these head coaches, Chuck Martin and Jason Candle, being floated for maybe some other jobs.
Indiana?
Yeah. Indiana, possibly.
Oh, really? You don't think so?
Hey,
what's up with the Gruden stuff to Indiana?
That's fake. That's not a thing.
That can't be real, right? That's not real.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
John Gruden will not be the head coach at Indiana.
It was like, what? I was like, what? Wait, what? And then I heard it from like 3 or 4 people. It's like that cannot be happening.
Yeah, I'll just say as far as Jason Candle goes, I don't think that would really be a fit at Indiana. He's been able to coach the team with the most talent in the MAC. He's been able to have the team with he's the Georgia of the MAC because they have the better players than all the other schools. That is not Indiana's profile in the Big Ten. They need somebody, I think, who can do more with less, and I'm not sure that's what Jason Candle is. It might be what Chuck Martin is. We'll see. But
okay.
Yeah, fun little matchup here, something to keep an eye on. 7 months from now, we'll all be wishing we had Miami, Ohio against Toledo on our TVs. So yeah,
that is the problem, man. Like even like Oklahoma State and Texas, it's kind of an afterthought. But dude, even 3 weeks from now, when you're sitting there waiting for bowl games to get here, like you would kill for a Big 12 championship game with a trophy on the line, right? And Oklahoma State got crushed by South Alabama this year and has turned it around and is playing for a Big 12 championship. And that is wild to me. Absolutely wild.